Hi, everyone. Mitch from Pick Dogs here with Chris, Jay, David, Brian, and Jovan. It's Saturday, September 21st, 2024, week 4 of the college football season. Of course, it's my favorite day of the week. My favorite time of year, college football Saturday. Little different format for today's show. What we're going to do is I'm just going to pick the big games of the week. We'll go through those one by one. Lost somebody here. I don't know who, but can't keep popping on and popping off. Not going to have that stuff anymore either. We're just going to go through the games. And pick out one, per slot, or unless there's some really big ones. And Sway, be nice and concise. Anyways, hope everyone's having a good one. Last night, some pretty good games out there. It was Dog City, right, for the college football games. All three dogs covering or winning outright in Illinois' case. Man, that Illinois-Nebraska game full of some crazy plays, and we'll talk about them a little bit later. But let's just jump into some of this early action. Let's get going. We've got Ohio State taking on Marshall. This one at the Big Horseshoe in Columbus. Ohio State 39-point favorites and the total at 53. Chris, what do you think?
Oof. Yeah, this is a big number, but I do think that Ohio State could probably cover it on their own. I think the better play for me here is the over. Like I said, they could hit it on their own. It doesn't rely on Marshall to get there, or if Marshall wants to chip in a couple touchdowns, that helps too. For me, 39 just feels like you could leave the back door open here at like 52-14 or something like that. So I'll take the over 53 in this one.
Jay?
I would lean Marshall, not a game I'm totally in love with. It just seems like Ohio State hasn't played anybody thus far this season, and I'm not saying that Marshall is, all that great, but I'm thinking somewhere like 47-7. You know what I mean? 47-10. So that puts us like right on the number or slight lean towards Marshall, and that's probably where I want to be in this football game.
Brian?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Jay here. I'm going to lean towards Marshall plus the points. They're perfect 2-0 against the number this year, and then 39.5 seems like a big number to get to. So I'll lean towards Marshall.
David?
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to take Ohio State. I know they haven't played anyone, 2 MAC schools, but they've taken care of business. They won by 56 against Western, 46 against Akron. I think the offense will have no issues. We know they're one of the best teams in the country. I think they win this easily, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's like a 55-3 or something along those lines. So I'll take Ohio State.
Jovan?
Yeah, the thing about this one is, of course, Ohio State, they can name the score. That said, under Ryan Day, these big spreads, they've kind of been lackadaisical, covering these ones. Middle of the season when they face, also ran like Marshall, they usually run it up. But in the beginning of the season, I'm going to have to lean Marshall in this one.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm going to go with Marshall as well. I'm going to take the points. I think it's a lot closer than a lot of people think. And, I think Ryan Day has just been not a good coach at Ohio State. He is on the hot seat, and I think it gets a little bit hotter after this one. They got Michigan State up next week and lost to Sparty, and my guess is he will be shown the door mighty quickly unless he somehow manages to beat Michigan, something he hasn't been able to do. At Ohio State, they'll keep you around if you can beat Michigan, but that's a big if, and he hasn't covered that if. I'm going to roll Marshall and the points. Not one that I love, not really on my radar of the games. Move on. Let's go to the ACC. Let's take a look at this one. We got Clemson taking on NC State. Clemson 17.5-point favorites in this one. They had the big bounce back against App State after getting blown out in their opener in the second half against Georgia. You got to remember that game was tight as a vice at halftime. But what happened after that, though, of course, was the blowout, right? So I don't know. Jay, what do you think?
Everybody knows I'm not the biggest Dabo or Klubnik fan. I was really critical of them last season. But last week when they played App State, I thought it was a great bounce back spot for them to bounce back and play well. In a spot like this, I'm here to tell y'all, NC State coming into the season was overrated, overvalued. They were not that good. This is not another game I'm not totally in love with, but I'm taking Clemson here. I know I've been critical of them, but I think that criticalness, and after they got beat up like they did in the second half of that Georgia game, it kind of woke something up in them. So, kind of my argument from that last week. These are guys with big egos. Dabo Swinney, and they've been talking bad about him, like he's a bad head coach. We know he's not that. Is he one of the greats? Still, the book's out, but he is a really, really good head coach, one of the best in college football. So I think this is a game they kind of flex their muscles at home at the crib and beat up on a team they're head and shoulders better than. So I think they win this game by like 3 touchdowns. I'm going to take Clemson.
Brian?
Yeah, for me, another game that really not something I'm super in love with, but I'm going to lean towards Clemson. I don't know how much that 66-20 win means for Clemson. I saw how App State played against South Alabama. Jaguars really looked good against them. Clemson, after that loss to Georgia, did come back in the second half of that App State game. I'm going to lean towards Clemson. I think they win this game by 21.
David?
Yeah, I'm also on Clemson here. We saw them play actually pretty well against Georgia. I know the final score didn't look that way, but they played decently well. But this is kind of a fate of NC State here. NC State, we've been kind of waiting for them to turn things around, and they just haven't been able to. They only beat Western Carolina by 17 in the opener. They got smoked by Tennessee. And then last week, Louisiana Tech at home, they were losing at one point. They were nearly outgained in total yardage. They ended up winning by 10, but I just think there's a lot of issues with this NC State side, so I'll take Clemson.
Javon?
Yeah, I mean, no Grayson McCall in this one, if no memory serves me correct. That's a big L for them. Got a freshman going on the road in Death Valley. It's not looking so good for the Wolfpack. This isn't the same Clemson team that we've seen in years past where, you could just autoplay them at home. But that said, there's really only one way to go with this one, and that's with the Tigers.
I'm going to have to go against you guys. I'm going to go with NC State. I'm going to take the bundle of points here. This Clemson defense, not nearly the defense that we've seen in the past, ranking 102nd in yards allowed per game. That's 405. I understand they've only played a couple, but the thing is, one of those was App State blowout. So you would think that number would go way down, but it actually did not. So the Clemson defense, seriously vulnerable against the pass here. They've had some real problems with, opponents, being able to complete a large number of passes on them. Clemson offense has been decent, of course, rushing the football. They have that physical type game, but that's not a blowout type offense. I'm going to take the NC State and take the points. Chris?
Yeah, I'm not one I'm rushing to bet, but I'll lean towards Clemson as well. Just a fade of NC State without Grayson McCall. Even with McCall, this was a team that only led by 4 against Western Carolina going into the fourth quarter of that game. They didn't look great against Louisiana Tech, and then, like a couple of guys mentioned, got blown out by Tennessee. Maybe something woke up with Clemson that win over App State. We'll find out if it was Clemson waking up or App State just giving up when they were down 42-0 in the second in that game. So for me, I'm just going to take Clemson. I don't know what to make NC State without McCall.
Ryan, we head to the big house in Michigan where the Wolverines take on USC. Michigan, a home dog for the second time in the same season. These guys have not played a road game yet in typical Michigan fashion. The total, though, for a USC game, 44 points. That seems normally USC themselves looking at 44. Lincoln Riley team. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I tell you, premium on the side, but as far as the total goes, you're right. That total of 44 really jumped off the page to me. To me, it makes me want to bet the under. I think I've seen an improved defense from USC. Michigan, not the best offensively. I think this game is going to be ultra low scoring unless it goes to overtime. That's the only worry I have as far as taking the under.
David?
Yeah, Michigan has just been a disaster offensively and even defensively. They haven't looked anywhere near the level we thought we would see. I think USC is going to have a field day in this one, kind of similar to Texas. That Texas game, the score didn't get out of hand. It could have very easily. Texas backed off in the second half. They moved the ball very easily. I think USC does the same. Michigan has shown us nothing. They made the switch to Orgy full time here instead of Davis Warren under center. Maybe that sparks them, but they have just shown nothing. I know the line's gone in their favor, but I haven't seen anything from Michigan suggesting they can keep this one close. So I'll take USC.
Javon?
You kind of got to take a leap of faith if you're back in Michigan in this spot. That said, they still have a defense, and if Orgy can do what Warren didn't do, which was not throw the ball to the other team, they're in play. Defense, it is what it is. Defense is strong in against the USC team who, unlike Texas, they played well, but they haven't had a real test on the defensive side, going up against a strong defense like Michigan. So, second time's the charm, I believe, for the Wolverines as far as covering a spread against a worthy opponent. So give me the Michigan Wolverines plus the points.
I'm going to roll with USC in this one. It looks almost too easy. I don't care. I don't have a bet on it, but, it just as an opinion. I'm going to take USC. I just think that Michigan's offense just looks dead in the water, and a very similar matchup to that Texas game. Just a lot of fast guys who can catch footballs and a quarterback that can get it down the field. Going to go over the top on Michigan. I expect them to do it all day long. Michigan, under Harbaugh was ground and pound, control the ball type offense. Man, this is three plays in a punt. It's not going to work against Lincoln Riley, but that total does make it suspicious. One of those things. You take Michigan, same game parlay it under. If you're taking USC, lay the points and take the over. So I'll same game parlay at USC and the over.
Yeah, I'm going to take USC here as well. They haven't played a defense, the level of Michigan's on paper, but I do think that, USC showed something against an improved LSU defense in that opener. I'm high on Miller Moss, and I like what USC did with bringing in D'Anton Lynn. You can already see the changes he's made with that defense. It's improved. And, I think Miller Moss can hold his own. I mean, sure, Quinn Ewers has the experience of playing in the college football playoff. He went into Ann Arbor and beat up on Michigan, but I think Miller Moss can do the same here. I think USC wins this one by at least a touchdown. I got to go with the Trojans.
Jay?
I'm taking the under. Lincoln Riley actually has a decent defense this season, and I don't trust Michigan's offense. And I still don't trust Miller Moss to go into the big house and just light it up. I know Texas did it, but they did it with a quarterback who's we're going to see on Sundays, a veteran in college football, in Quinn Ewers. Miller Moss is not that. So I think we'll see him struggle a little more here in the big house than we saw Ewers did. You remember, I think people are down on Ewers. You remember, Ewers also was the same guy that went into Alabama and beat them outright too. So, this is there's levels to this shit, and I don't think Miller Moss is on that level quite yet to expect them to go and light up a good Michigan defense. So total's low for a reason. USC actually has a good defense this year. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. Give me the under.
Yeah, I think the college game has far beyond transcends just quarterback play. But, that's a different story for a different argument for a different show. We'll have to argue that one on Monday. But I think quarterback in college football, you see many, many, many guys that never play at the NFL level win national championships in college. So I think it matters a little less. You have other guys that can get that, especially a killer defense, which Texas's defense just absolutely ate Michigan up in that game. I thought it had a lot more to do with that than anything Quinn Ewers did in that game. But tough to beat a team if you can't score on them. That's for sure. You head to our next game on the card. We'll go to the Plains, where Auburn hosting Arkansas in SEC action. Peyton Thorne, barked at his fan base about him not hitting his prop bets, except for his over interceptions when he threw 4. He's been benched. Hank takes over, but I don't know, man. I'm in with the Auburn fan base. I have been for a very, very long time. I've been doing college football since on the internet since 2008. For some reason, the Auburn fan base has always been good to me. And they say Hank is not all that. David, what do you think?
Yeah, we'll see. The Peyton Thorne thing's wild. That's kind of a funny story, but I'm going to take Arkansas here on the money line. I think they get it done. I've liked this Arkansas team. I know we saw them stumble in the second half against Oklahoma State. They didn't play their best last week against UAB, kind of a tough spot in between Oklahoma State and this one. But I like the offense. I think they have a quarterback that obviously is dual threat, can run, can pass. It scares me because Arkansas historically over the last couple of years has been a huge letdown. But so has Auburn. Auburn has not been great in years either. I just think Arkansas's dual threat quarterback, Taylor Green, he's experienced-ish. He had that time at Boise State. I think he gets enough plays done here to get the win. I think we see a high-scoring game. I think plenty of points because I don't trust Arkansas's defense, but I think Arkansas makes one more play offensively, gets the win.
Jovan?
Yeah, I'm also on Arkansas. So just a lean for me, and I'm also on over. I think that's a stronger play. You're dealing with an Arkansas team who, in this spot, not last week because Taylor Green did not have a good game, but this game before that where they lost by 8 points, they jumped on I'm drawing a blank of who they played, but they jumped on them early in the first half. So I think that's what happens in this one as well. They come out firing, they come out putting up points on the board. The question is, can they do it for a full game? Can they do it for the full 60 minutes? This is a short spread to be sure, under 3. But I like my chances with Arkansas. I think they finished the job against this Tigers team, who's going through it just in the as far as their quarterback. I don't know what the circumstances was around the benching of Payne Thorne, but
Well, it was the 4 interceptions might have had something to do with it and lost the Cal.
Yeah, but I mean, how many guys have you seen do that? And not get benched.
Well, I mean, he cried about the prop betting on social media. That's never a good sign.
Yeah, so so it probably has more to do with him chirping than the actual play on the field because they are 2-1. So but regardless of that, I just don't like what I've seen from Auburn. I was on Cal when they went into into Alabama, into Auburn and got the job done. So, they're fading in my book. So I think there's going to be points scored. I think there's, Arkansas is going to get it done, at the end of the day. Just the whole thing is their second half going to be as good as their first half? So, that's my only concern in this one. That's why it's just a lean.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Arkansas in this one. I don't love it. That's for sure. Not a premium for me, but we saw Arkansas fold against Oklahoma State, but a much better Oklahoma State team than they face here at Auburn. I think Auburn has a bright future, but the future isn't now. And, Hugh Freeze is certainly a guy that knows how to recruit. And, certainly it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see, how he does long-term in the image licensing era. He's one of those guys that, kind of like how we were at Miami. Took us a few years how to figure out how to do it legally. We were great at it when you weren't allowed to do it, but now that you're allowed to do it, it took us about 3 or 4 years. And now, now we're paying players just as well as everybody else. And I think it's just going to take him a little bit of time to do it. He always was one of those guys right on the line where you could see it, which meant he was way over the line, behind the scenes. So I don't know. He might be a year away there at Auburn. I would be shocked if they didn't get like a top 10 recruit at quarterback under this guy in the near future. I mean, he is the guy that brought the world Malik. Chris?
Yeah, thankfully, I think I can cash on my Peyton Thorne unders for today, but I'm going to take Arkansas here, plus the 2.5, and on the money line as well. Uh, and I just don't trust Hank Brown to take advantage of the one weakness of this Arkansas defense, which is the pass defense. I think that Arkansas, like a couple of guys have already said, to have Taylor Green, the better quarterback here for me. I just feel like they are the better team in this one, and in the end, I just think they make those few plays that are the difference in this one to not only cover but win the game outright. So give me Arkansas on the points with sprinkle on the money line.
Jay,
this is a game that was on my premium list and I crossed off. I had Arkansas. I'm with you guys. I do believe they're the better team, and this may be one I'm kicking myself later that I didn't put in. The reason I took it off is because Jordan Hare is still Jordan Hare, and Taylor Green can get a little wild at times. And in a ruckus environment like this, in a close game like I'm expecting it to be, Arkansas is one of them teams, bro, that like just when you think they finna do something, they never do it. They never do it. It's my grandpa's team, so he loves his Razorbacks, man. And he's excited about this game today. I'm pulling for him. I'm pulling for his happiness. I'm pulling for Arkansas. Again, it was on my premium list. I just crossed it off. On the field, player for player, roster for roster, I do believe Arkansas is the better team. On the road, though, the million-dollar question is, do I trust them? I'm going to lean in their direction. I might put a couple dollars on it.
Brian?
Yeah, for me in this game here, I'm going to agree with Javon here. I think the best bet is on the total. I can't get anywhere on the spread, but if you look as far as overs go, 7-1-1 last 9 for Arkansas to the over head-to-head. These teams, 9 in the last 10 have gone over the total. I like Arkansas's offense. I think Auburn's going to toss the ball around. So for me, I'll take the over 55.
All right, next up, we don't have a lot of these. I eliminated a lot of these big point spread games, but I kept this one up. Notre Dame minus the 27.5 versus Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio considered one of the better MAC teams. The last time Notre Dame faced one of the better MAC teams, they lost outright at home by about the same margin. Favorite. Jovan, does the Irish wake up the Irish here, or is it bad news?
This is a game that's not on my radar. I looked at it and didn't like it at all. Now Notre Dame at the pounding Purdue, you would say, keep on going. They're looking to get into the the playoff, the 12-team playoff. But these are the spots where Notre Dame, they struggle for some inexplicable reason. It's been like this for years, and you saw what happened earlier this season against Northern Illinois. So, I would say, yeah, lay the wood, but you're facing the Miami of Ohio team, who's one of the better MAC teams in that conference. So, all things considered, I don't want to play the game at all. If I, gun to my head, I would say, really, I would say Miami of Ohio, but I see the potential where this could be a straight blowout, just like last week. Notre Dame takes no prisoners. All the criticism that they got from that loss. And they're just coming in and just running roughshod over lesser teams. And make no mistake, Miami of Ohio is a lesser team, even though they are one of the better MAC teams. So I'm just taking the points just because, but I can see it going both ways. So I want no parts of this one.
This is a tough one. Last week, Notre Dame was my play of the day, my top play, and they were 49-0 at halftime. I don't know if they go quite to the same level. Miami of Ohio, that game against Northwestern in week 1, they were a super public dog in that game. I liked them in the game until we got around game day. And I think that's the difference for me this year in college football, at least through the first few weeks, is that I'm thinking one thing almost all week long, and I get to game day, and it's like, oh, man, I read those YouTube comments, and oh, boy, it can change your opinion in a hurry. And I think, this is one of those where I probably would have thought Notre Dame, But actually, I think that Miami of Ohio is better than Purdue, and I think their run defense is way better than Purdue for sure. I'm going to take I'll take my shot here, getting almost 4 touchdowns. Chris,
I'm going to take Notre Dame here. I just think Marcus Freeman's not going to let his team get caught against another MAC opponent. I mean, the game against Purdue, I think, was just a bounce back statement, but I think this is another spot where Notre Dame just flexes
I don't
some
think it was a
muscle.
bounce back. I think it was a tremendous matchup for Notre Dame. That game
That
against
too,
Purdue.
but I think it was
it was just a man for man mismatch across the board.
No, I know, but I'm saying I think but 66-7 sends a bit of a message.
Well, Hudson Card was serving.
Yeah.
For the
But Miami, Ohio, I think they're getting a lot of respect because they've historically been one of the better MAC teams. They bring back their quarterback and Brett Gabbert, but
I think I don't agree with the hype this guy gets either.
No, I don't. It's just it's the hype in comparison for the conference, but they're only averaging one.
Ben came from that conference, man. He looks pretty good at Baylor.
Yeah, true. And I think he's I think he's one of the better MAC quarterbacks, but clearly the move to Baylor hasn't suited him. I mean, now he's behind Sawyer Robertson. But Miami, Ohio, 1.4 yards per carry. It's third worst in the country. And so I think it's making them a bit one-dimensional. I think Notre Dame can key in on the passing game a little bit here. And, if Miami, Ohio's rush defense is better than Purdue's, what does that say about Purdue? Because Miami, Ohio, 106th in stopping the run. It's a top 25 Notre Dame rushing offense. So.
I think Purdue's 130th, I think.
Are they? Okay, so there we go. Sure. But yeah, I'm gonna take Notre Dame here. I think they win this one by at least 4 scores.
Purdue is. Let's take a quick gander and see where they are. Boiler defense. Oh, they're actually not that bad. Actually, they're only 128th against the run. I was a couple off there. I overstated
overachieving. I think we call it.
They only give up 233 a game, but it's a good 233.
It's a healthy 233.
It really, they rounded up. It was 232, and they never.
They're like we got to get inside the top 130. We have to.
They can never spot the ball right, man. They never get it right. Jay?
Yeah, I'm not betting this game. If I were to, it's Notre Dame or pass, though. It's like you just got to lay some boys and just pray they come out and play their style game. The reason I say that is because they already got a blemish on their record, and this is an independent team, so that could really hurt them in the end. They still, I believe, have because they're independent, one of the best routes into the college football playoff. I thought rolling into the season, they had a really light schedule, and, that might be frowned upon a little bit once we get later in the season. So I think in the spots where they have to take care of business, they will. So if they would have beaten NIU and got away with it, this might have been a sneaky spot to take Miami, Ohio. But because they already got that blemish, man, I think we see them run up the score at home. So, Notre Dame.
Brian?
I think it's the first time I disagree with Jay today. I really probably should have used Miami, Ohio as a premium pick.
It's actually Brian and I are actually agreeing, and I think for the same, I know it's going to be for the same reason too.
Well, they're getting 27.5. Notre Dame has Louisville on deck next. That's a revenge game from last year's loss. Notre Dame always one of the most public, huge fan base. Love to bet them. They saw them come out and crush Purdue last week. Put up 66 points. I just think I'm getting 27.5 points with a MAC team that's better than 0-2. I'll take that 27.5. I think it's a closer game.
David?
Yeah, I'm going to be Notre Dame in this one. I watched a good majority of that Miami, Ohio, Cincinnati game last week, and Miami of Ohio just did not impress me. Cincinnati put up over 400 total yards, ran for over 200 yards. I think Notre Dame comes out probably not 66-7, but I think they come out and handle their business here. I know Miami is one of the better MAC teams, they say. Obviously, we saw them only score 6 against Northwestern last week. Wasn't impressive. Could have been worse too if Cincinnati didn't fumble at the 1 right before half. So I'll take Notre Dame to win big here at home.
All right. Just in the future, you don't want to say handling their business on shows where Ruffalo is on there because it goes to a whole nother level.
Noted.
Loves to talk about handling his business. Anyways,
Look,
God.
okay, when Dick Fitz opens the door for itself, I'm sorry, it has to
Richard. It's Richard to you.
It's Dick.
Ever since Ruffalo has confessed his Suits marathon he's been on.
Oh my
he's
god,
smarter than everybody else.
Objection. Overruled.
You do kind of look like that. I'm drawing a blank on
Don't
the
you
name.
say it.
Lewis.
You do
Lewis.
look like Lewis.
I don't look like Lewis Litt. Stop it.
No, you do
Oh
actually.
my god.
I can't unsee it right now.
Yeah, me neither.
Great.
It happened. Next up, we head to Stillwater, where Oklahoma State, the Cowpokes, taking on the Utes of Utah, Joe Pesci's favorite team. Couple of Utes. I tell you what, man, this line looks funny to me, and the reason why is Oklahoma State. They've kind of gotten it done, and Utah, more of like a workman-like effort team that always has really that big home field advantage playing at home. And I just think, well, usually the home field advantage is at home. But the thing is, in this one, I think that Utah might be physical enough to hurt Oklahoma State here. And I think that it's going to be a tight one. But I think Utah does get the outright win. I'm going to take the Utes here. Chris?
Yeah, this was one I really struggled with because I do like Oklahoma State. But it's all about the status of Cam Rising. But you know what? I think even if Rising does play, this is just a different Utah for me.
It sure looks like he's going from the line. Right?
Yeah. No, I kind of assumed that he was going to play all week because, they were just saying that it looks like he's going to be good to go. But for me, this is a different Utah team outside of Rice Eccles. If this game was in Salt Lake City, I'm on Utah all day. But at Boone Pickens, I just think Oklahoma State finds a way to get it done. This is one of the oldest quarterback matchups you'll ever see. I think it's the oldest quarterback matchup. I think they're like a combined 57 or 49 or something like that. So, yeah, give me the Cowboys here. I think they get.
I think when you look at and kind of like back to that Miami of Ohio Notre Dame game, and kind of looking at this comment here where it says Oklahoma State 7-1 or something and like that at home. When you look at college football, man, that 7-1 at home could be against freaking anybody, man. It's like There's a lot of like junk in there, and this one actually like is as a conference game. It's the first time they're meeting as conference opponents, but there's a lot of these other games that you'll see out there, and they'll talk about like especially trends in college football where it's like this team versus that team. They might not have played each other since 1957. I mean, you see it all, things like that all the time. And I think the Miami Notre Dame game, back to that one, I think one of the things that you have to look at there is like, they're going to be ready for this game and all that other stuff. Sometimes there's actually a problem there, and I think that Notre Dame has some problems and they just inherently have problems with that program. It's Notre Dame, but they have a super tough admissions department that doesn't let players that you need to really win. It doesn't just readily let these guys in the door. And that is a big problem there. Anyways, Jay, you're up.
Sorry, I'm muted. Give me the Utes. Player for player, man for man, roster for roster. I think they're the better football team. And that's why they're favored on the road here. Oklahoma State, I'm still going to say this. It's probably not a popular opinion. I don't think they're as good as advertised. I don't. Gundy, hell of a coach. Hell of a coach. I like Gundy. He's probably one of my favorite coaches in all of college football, honestly. I just like everything about him. But, again, player for player, roster for roster, man for man, I'm rolling with Utah. I feel like this is like, for Utah, this is it, man. This is it, bro. This is their last hurrah. Like, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's why Cam Rising is going to give it a go. Everybody's projected Utah to be the team to represent the Big 12 in the college football playoff. I don't think they're going to be the team, but we'll talk about the team later, I'm sure. But in this one, I think they go and get it done. I do. I think Oklahoma State on the defensive end is a little vulnerable. Arkansas really was able to move the football in the first half on them, and I think Utah will be able to as well. And even South Dakota State, I felt like, was able to move the football a little bit. this is by far the Utah's is even a head shoulders better than Arkansas. And I'm gonna take the Utes in this one. I think they're gonna get it done on the road in Stillwater.
Brian.
Yeah, I'm agree 100% there with a lot of what Jay said here. 482 yards per game given up for Oklahoma State. I think that's a big difference in this matchup is the Utah defense here. And I think this +1 for Oklahoma State really enticing for bettors. I wish I would have got in on Utah yesterday at +2.5, but I didn't. I think this is an outright win for Utah. I'm going to back them here.
Kyle Whittingham's been there forever, man. He was the defense coordinator under Urban Meyer. It's like that's how long he's been the head coach, since Urban Meyer was at Utah when they beat Pitt in the Fiesta. David?
Yeah, he's been fantastic there. I mean, that team is always ready.
He's got to be
go.
one of the longest tenured coaches at this point. He's got to be up there.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. But I'm going to take Oklahoma State here, and solely based on the fact, and I know college football is not all about quarterback play, but even if Cam Rising plays, I just don't see how he's anywhere near 100% with the hand injury. I think that's going to really hamper them. Now, the Utah defense is strong. We know that. But I think Oklahoma State can capitalize, especially if Utah has trouble moving the ball, which, again, I know the Cowboys give up quite a few yards, but I just think it comes down to Rising and his health, and I don't think he's anywhere near 100%. So I'm going to take Oklahoma State at home.
Jovan.
Yeah, I'm on the over in this one. I have concerns about Oklahoma State's defense, specifically their secondary. They got torched in that game against Arkansas a couple games ago. And the first game of the season, even though it really didn't seem like it because they blew out South Dakota State, they were giving up chunk yardage in that game, throughout the whole game. It just didn't reflect as far as the points that South Dakota State put on the board. Now, the Cam Rising situation is what it is. Just got to deal with it. But I think that regardless of who they have under center, that Utah can make hay as far as putting points on the board. On the other side, Oklahoma State, they're as talented as anyone when it comes to, putting up points on the board. Ollie Gordon hasn't looked well this season, but that could change in a moment's notice. So I think when all's said and done, this one gets just past the total in this one. If it was 55, 56, like how I thought it would be, then I would refrain from taking this total at all. But at 53.5, I think I like the over.
These are actually the two second most longest tenured coaches, both of them, 20 years. Both of them exactly the same. So I'm sure we'll see that graphic on the screen today during the game. Go to Washington, where the Huskies taking on Northwestern in this one. 12-point favorites. Big Ten battle in this one. Washington, of course, licking their wounds after last week's Apple Cup loss. Northwestern looking exactly like the same Northwestern team we've seen for about the last 20 years. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, this was one that I really, really struggled with, but I'm going to lean towards Washington here. I think that they just have the better team across the board. Northwestern does have a solid defense, but at a certain point, you got to be able to outscore the other team and have to do it with offense. And I don't know if Northwestern can do that here. So I'm going to take Washington. I think they win this one by at least 2 touchdowns.
Jay?
I'm taking Washington as well. If Fish is as good as what coaches y'all say he is, they better come out here and dominate this football game after a loss last week. Northwestern, I'm not that high on this football team. They haven't played anybody to begin the season. And that Duke team they lost to is not a good football team, in my opinion. Beating Miami, Ohio at home in a close game really doesn't move the needle for me, and their win last week doesn't move the needle for me. So real step up in competition against a program that was just, went deep last year in a bounce back spot on the road, just a really tough spot for Northwestern. I'm going to lay the points here with the Huskies and pray that Coach Fish has his team ready to go.
Brian?
Yeah, for me, just a slight lean here to the Washington Huskies. I think this game will be similar played out like Notre Dame and Purdue was. I think Washington's going to come out and just open up a can of whoop-ass on Northwestern, who struggles to score points. So I'll lay the points here with the Huskies.
David?
Yeah, this is just your typical classic Big Ten battle. But I'm going to take a look at the under here. Northwestern offensively, we know the struggles they go through. Defensively, they haven't played anyone really talented to know how good the defense is. But Washington, they only scored 19 points against Washington State last week. The week before that, Eastern Michigan, they won 30-9, and they did the majority of their scoring in the second quarter there. They struggled in the other three quarters. I just think we see a lower scoring game here. I think Washington probably covers and kind of runs away with it, but I just have no faith that Northwestern can generate many points here, so I'll take the under.
Yeah, Washington is one of those teams that preseason I was eyeing to fade, quite frankly. They lost a whole lot on this program. Head coach, starting quarterback, so on and so forth. They only have 6 returning starters on both sides of the ball, and they lost 34 players in their program. So, as opposed to keeping those 27, so it just makes for this to be a difficult season as far as I'm concerned. Now, they're facing the team that historically not really able to put up the points, but they certainly have or have had a good defense. That said, I'm gonna take the points in this one. I can't have faith in a team that has so much turnover from the last year when they went to the national championship game. It's really just that simple for me. So I'm taking the points. Would like it at minus. I mean, at 14 more than where it's currently at, but nevertheless, I'm on the underdog.
I'm on Northwestern as well, taking the points. I think Washington probably wins the game, but I think it's going to be one of these ugly games. That's what Northwestern does. They get into these ugly, ugly games. They have a lot of players that are returning from last year. And I always like in these kind of earlier season games, I always trust the smarter teams, on the road, on these long road trips than I do some of these other schools. And Northwestern certainly fits into the category of schools that wouldn't let me within 500 yards of their admission office. We saw Stanford do it last night against Syracuse, similar type thing. Exactly, pretty much, less of a road trip than what this one is. And, I think Northwestern makes it ugly. And that's what they do. And I think they at least get the cover. Next up. Florida State and Cal. This one really wasn't on my main list, but I added it because I think it is pretty interesting because Florida State is in a little bit of a predicament here. And Cal got one of the crazier schedules in all of the country as far as travel goes. I mean, they are back and forth all the way across the country. Stanford considered one of the great academic institutions playing a Friday night college football game across the country on the road. I'm sure all those guys went to classes on Thursday and Friday before that game. Jay, Chris, what do you think?
I mean, it's simple. As long as I continue to see indications that DJU is the starting.
Oh, wait a minute. It's actually Jay's turn, but you can go ahead.
Oh,
we'll go the same. We'll go the same. It doesn't matter.
Okay. As long as I see indications that DJU is the starting quarterback for Florida State, I'm going to keep going the other way. I'm going to take Cal here. I like what I've seen from Cal's defense, and the thing is that Florida State's defense hasn't been able to stop the run. They were hit hard by Boston College and Georgia Tech, and Cal's got a bunch of running backs that can do damage as well. And I like I said, I like this Cal defense against Florida State, so I'm taking the Golden Bears plus the points and money line.
I'm on the Golden Bears straight up on the money line as well. Remember, I'm the guy who told y'all preseason we're fading the hell out of Florida State all season. I'm the one that said that, and I'm just going to continue to do so. This is not me switching up. This is not me jumping on the bandwagon. This is just me fully implementing what I projected for full season. They did all that crying over the offseason, and they did too much crying, not enough practicing, and we're not starting to see. We're starting to see it. Cal's a good football team. They have a good resume coming into this year. On the road, they went into Jordan-Hare and got the dub. They did that. Shout out to them. Then they smashed San Diego State. San Diego State's a good program. smashed them. This Cal team's a good football team, and I still think even at 0-3, Florida State is overrated and overvalued. Like Ruffalo said, if DJU under center, we know what the game plan is: dink and dunk, dink and dunk, dink and dunk. And I don't think it's gonna dink and dunk themselves into a win. Taking Cal, man. These boys after this week, they're gonna be ranked, and they should have been ranked probably. It's gonna be an interesting season. Keep your eyes on the Golden Bears this season.
Brian?
This is a tough one for me, and just to lean to Florida State and minus the points. This is a heck of a travel schedule going from Auburn, then home to play San Diego State, now back to Florida State. Florida State is desperate as you
back home, back on the road again, man. It just keeps going for Cal.
Just a crazy schedule. So for me, just I hate the Florida State stinks, but I think they get the cover here and the W against Cal.
David?
Well, yeah, I'm looking at that travel schedule. That is insane.
It's insane.
That sucks for them.
They win here, and they set up the ranked match next week against Miami. I think that's how it should.
Yeah, but it's in 2 weeks, I think, and it's not.
Oh yeah, it is.
So it's like it's home, and then they're back on the road at Pitt,
they got a
and
real
on the road at NC State, back home against Oregon State, on the road at Wake Forest, on the road at Syracuse, back home to Stanford, and then at Dallas. I mean, that is a ridiculous.
It's still early in the season. I think I'm not putting too much emphasis on that.
Someone's going to rack up those frequent flyer miles, be flying first class.
In this game, I don't know. I probably put too much.
Sitting next to Chris. Past the Grey Poupon.
Kicking the feet up in Delta 1.
They'll be sitting next to Chris. Excuse me, sir. Can you turn the volume down on your porn while we're trying to sleep over here?
You're at an 8. I need you to beat about a 3.
All right. Well, for this one, I'm going to side with Florida State here. I know there's a ton of red flags. They've only scored 25 points in their last 2 games. And I know Cal did beat Auburn, but I still have questions on how good Cal is. San Diego State is a shell of what they used to be. They're not decent. UC Davis, obviously not decent. Now, Auburn, that went on the road, that was very good, but Cal has had a ton of turnover luck this year. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I was looking at it this morning. The turnover luck they've had in all 3 of their wins has been incredible, really. And I just think Florida State, if they can protect the ball, that's an if. If they can protect the ball, I think they come out with a win and a cover. So I'm going to take Florida State.
Jovan?
Yeah, I like the under in this one. Looking at Cal's team, got some. They do a hell of a good job on the defensive end. Now you're dealing with a Seminoles team who, one of the things I thought that could save on Florida State prior to the beginning of the season was their offensive and defensive line. Winning the battle of the trenches. And that hasn't happened in any of their games, So, with that said, DJU, he's the downgrade. I mean, he actually played well at Oregon State last season. Now, I think, that was a product of the talent around him. The running back, Damian Martinez, who's now in Miami, and he doesn't have that backup that he had in with the Beavers. They're being exposed right now. They got a lot of young players over there at FSU, and it all culminates in them being 0-3. A lot of transfer portal guys, a lot of freshmen. A lot of turnover. It means a lot of losing. So I don't think that they put up anywhere near the amount of points it's going to take for this one to get over the total. So give me the under.
I'm going to take Florida State in this one. I just think that they still have too much talent. I think the play calling has been abysmal. Of course, I've never been a DJU fan, but I mean, the play calling has really, really been horrible. And I think you got to point some fingers there as well. All these draw plays on 3rd and long, and I mean, just terrible, terrible play calling. But I just think for Cal.
So why do you think that changes in this football game?
Well, I don't think it changes, but what I do think is that they're just a better team than Cal, and they just have better players, and they match up. And I think that this eventually this road schedule that Cal has is going to start to wear them down. And I think at Doak Campbell at night is a tough place to play. And I think that while Florida State hasn't shown up yet, I mean, if they run the table the rest of the way, is anybody all that shocked? I certainly wouldn't be. I'm going to take Florida State here. Probably win pretty big.
Is there a time in the season you think Norvell gets on the hot seat? Or
not after running the table and beating Miami last year. He seriously got it.
That's
he
what I
beat
was
Miami.
wondering.
He beat Miami and Florida last year, so probably not.
Now, if they go 0-4, he on that hot seat.
No, he's not. Not if they beat Miami and Florida last year. He certainly isn't. And if they beat Miami and Florida, and especially if they beat Florida this year, he will not be.
Yeah, you had a great season, but then you turned around and made probably
nobody cares about any of those other games except for the Miami and the Florida game. I got news for you.
I doubt that. You know,
I don't doubt it. I grew up with it, man. I grew up with it, and you're wrong.
Take the words I just said. It's a new era. And
you said that last year about the transfer portal before Colorado got shellacked by 70 and didn't win a conference game all year.
It's still evident. And you know what other team? You know what other team attacked the transfer portal this season? And it is shit. This Florida State team. So you know what I mean? It's a new era of football, and like I was getting ready to say, I think he made one
people
of the
that
worst
pay the bill. It's not a new era for the people that pay the bills
this season,
That's
and
for
I
sure.
was going to get DJU to be the quarterback of this football team. So I think the boosters and things of that at Florida State will not look kindly on this team as they're 0-4. So hot seat, yes. Will he be fired? Probably not.
If you beat Miami and Florida, he'll be fired. Not be fired. You will not be fired. They can go 2-10. If they beat Miami and Florida, he will not be fired. I can guarantee you. Manny Diaz would still be the coach at Miami if they beat Florida State. I mean, that's it. It is that simple, man.
Mitch, what if
college is a different game? It's
what
like
if they go,
Ryan Day goes to the playoff all the time for Ohio State. He's on the hot seat because they can't beat Michigan, man. It's like it's just the way that it is. Look at Ohio State coaches that have been fired throughout the years. Look at their record versus Michigan. Look at Michigan coaches that have been fired throughout the years. They can't beat Ohio State, man. It's just the way that it is.
Getting into the playoff, and you're Florida State, and you're supposed to.
They don't care about that. They care about beating Miami and Florida, man.
When you're supposed to be quote unquote the best team in the ACC. And supposed to have
you watch too much ESPN. Go to a game. Go to a game.
To the college.
Do yourself a favor. I'll treat you.
I don't care what you're talking about.
I'll treat you. You have no idea what you're talking about, Jay. You have no idea what you're talking about, man.
Okay.
It's like I will pay for it. I'll pay for your plane ticket. Go to a game. Go to Doak Campbell Stadium.
I'm not
go to the Florida game and tell me that after that. You will not say the same thing, man. Those teams can go into that game 0-10. Trust me, it will be a sold out, man. You will not be able to get a ticket to get into the place, man. It is just a different environment. It's not the NFL, man. It's college transcends that. The great coaches, man, beat the rival. That's what it's all about, man. Auburn, Alabama. It all comes down to that. David will tell you he lives in Michigan. What's more important to Michigan State fans? Winning the national championship or beating Michigan, man?
That still doesn't make what he's done acceptable. And I don't think in a season like this.
He ran the table and went undefeated, man. He went undefeated.
Yeah, and didn't make the playoffs. And in the very next season.
That's not his fault.
And when they expanded, guess what? They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to look
No one cares, man.
Yes,
they don't care.
Everybody cares but you. Everybody cares but you.
I think nobody cares except for you.
No, I think
is the opposite.
And this is my point. We play to win. We play to win.
The point is you don't understand college football, man. It is a different game.
Rivalries are a big part of that. Yes,
it's all of it.
And beating your rivalry, and beating your rival.
It's not part of it. It's all of it.
But also
it's
now
all of it.
The addition of the new thing, I think
Jay, the more you say this stuff, the less it sounds like you know what you're talking about, man.
I think the more you talk, the more you sound like you're stuck in the old times and not adapting to what the new is. If you just want me to talk, so
yeah, no idea, man.
All right,
you sound like someone that's never been to a college football game, man. That's what you sound like.
I don't think so.
All right, well, let's ask David, okay? He's not part of the argument. David, what's more important to the Michigan State fans, beating Michigan or winning a national championship?
It is probably beating Michigan.
Yeah, it's way bigger, man. It's like it's not even close, man. And it's like, what's bigger for Georgia Tech, winning a national championship or beating Georgia? Beating Georgia, man. It's just the way that it is, man. It's like I didn't make the rules. These are just the rules are the rules, man. This is what makes college football what it is.
What you like to do is move the goalpost. My original argument was he will be on the hot seat if this team is not more competitive down the stretch.
It would have nothing to do with that. It would have everything to do with Miami and Florida beating those teams.
If he goes,
that's the only thing that matters.
If he goes 2-10 and beat those two teams, he will be fired.
No, he will not. He absolutely will not.
What if he goes 2-10 and loses to those two teams?
He's fired.
He won't be fired after one losing season after going undefeated the prior year. He won't be. It's ridiculous. It's an absurd argument, man.
All right.
Coaches don't get fired the year after running the table, man. They get fired the next year. If he has another bad year like that, then he would be fired. But he would not be fired 1 year after running the table. It just doesn't happen unless there's a sex scandal. That's the only time that ever happens. Guys like Terry Bowden, right? That's the only time stuff like that happens. If you beat Florida, number one, they got to be Florida. Miami, the game's at Miami this year. I don't know. It depends how it goes.
Fair enough.
But it's like these schools, college football is all about the rivalry. Very little has to do with anything else. It's all about the rivalry. All the other stuff is secondary to the rivalry. Always. What's bigger for Texas, winning the national championship or beating Oklahoma?
This season,
beating Oklahoma. It's beating Oklahoma.
National championship.
No, maybe for you, but for the real Texas fans, it's beating Oklahoma. Anyways,
I'm in Texas. You can't. Everybody's as hyped talking about that natty and how we have a real opportunity to go get it.
They're not winning shit, Jay. But they'll be lucky if they can beat Oklahoma. They lost to them last year. Anyways, where were we? Who's up? Chris, was it you or Jay, or it was Jay or who?
No, I went already.
All right, so probably have gone around the horn on this one. I think we've beaten it into the ground.
I don't even remember what game we were talking about.
Florida State and Cal. Next up, South Florida versus Miami.
Oh, that's an easy one.
Jay,
is it my turn?
You.
Oh, okay.
Jay's turn.
Yeah. I don't like this game, in all honesty. Remember, rolling into the season, I'm the guy who was telling everybody, Miami. Miami's going to be the team to win the ACC. Not Florida State, not nobody else. Cam Ward is him. Cam Ward is going to be in Heisman discussion. Miami's going to run the table. I'm the guy that said all these things preseason. I'm just reminding everybody of that. So when I say what I'm finna say, y'all don't go crazy. South Florida gonna give these boys a test today. I just think it's how this one goes. I think everybody, their mama, uncle, and auntie has Miami on their ticket today. They're starting to become really, really public. And this game might be what game was that last year? The Georgia Tech game that was just close for no damn reason. And they end up losing that game, but I don't think they lose this one. I think Cam Ward pulls this game out.
Every team has those games.
Yeah,
Every team has those games.
I know, but I'm just specifically talking about this team because that was one of the more known ones from last season. And I think that will be the case for them in this one. So Miami's definitely the better football team, but these South Florida boys, they're going to be ready to play for this one. This is a rivalry. You know what I mean? So they're going to be up and ready for it. I know rivalries, and the teams are up and ready for rivalries. That still didn't change my point in the last segment. But in this one, I think South Florida's up and ready. 17, I'm going to grab.
Yeah, for
Right.
me in this spot, it's hard for me not to be biased. I've been getting burned by Miami both times I faded them this year, and they look spectacular. But the only reason it's not a premium is because I got burned. I just think South Florida, they hung early with Alabama. Alabama ended up winning, but South Florida covered the number 3-0 perfect against the spread. I think this number is 17 and a half yesterday. It hasn't dropped much, but everybody and their mom's probably betting the Hurricanes here. They're real public team. I'm going to take South Florida here plus the points. I think Miami wins this game by 2 touchdowns. I think South Florida covers.
David?
Yeah, I'm going to take Miami here. I think South Florida, yes, they played tight with Alabama for 3 quarters, and I think that's enough to make sure there's no overlooking it for Miami. Not that they necessarily 100% would, but it's a tough spot, right, going on the road in a rivalry. But I think they know that South Florida gave Alabama a fight, rather. And I just think Miami's the better team. I think Cam Ward is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. They've obviously dominated all 3 games they've played. Now they haven't really played anyone. Best team is Florida. But I think they come in and handle their business and cover.
I'm going to take South Florida with the points. This is not a rivalry. These teams are not rivals, but the players are probably rivals because they've grown up, a lot of them playing against each other, so they know each other. So there's that sort of rivalry. But these teams are not rivals. They don't play each other every year. They're not in the same conference, and they're not considered, long-term rivals by any stretch of the imagination. Florida and Florida State are Miami's rivals, and then Notre Dame is after that. Is Miami's other rival. It's not South Florida. South Florida probably way down the line, actually. But the thing is like I said, I think a lot of these kids grew up playing against Miami. I think what the difference between this year as a Miami fan and, for my entire life, I've seen the greatest of great teams, right? The all-time best college football team. And I've seen the all-time most disappointing college football team, in the same stadium, wearing the same uniforms. But this year's team is more to the side of the all-time great type teams because they've finished opponents, man. They haven't let anybody come up for air. They have not made a lot of mistakes. They have a quarterback that doesn't make those stupid throws, man. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He made one bad play so far this season. He got sacked on a play where he probably could have gotten rid of the ball. And he took it on himself. He said, yeah, you only got sacked once. He said, yeah, that was 100% on me. I think also for Miami, where South Florida is going to have problems, and I think Miami could beat Bama this year. But I think that where Miami is different this year also is on the offensive line, where they're about 350 across the board there. And, I could see them actually wearing South Florida down. The thing that you have to remember here, too, about Miami is they've gone over 6 times in a row or something, maybe even 8 times in a row or something crazy like that. So I just think that the Canes certainly have a chance to blow them out. I think if they come out and set the tone, I think that if they go up early, this game's over, man, and it's going to be an absolute blowout. I think if South Florida can come in and hold them to some field goals, which Miami definitely does, when they play in these closer games, which, even the very best of the best Miami teams have gotten into, it's generally when they've been forced to settle for field goals and a lot. And I think that would be key for South Florida in this game. They let Miami get up by 14 points or something, this game is going to be over because Miami's pass rush is NFL. It's NFL first-round quality. First time we've seen that in a while. Bain, I believe, is one of the top players at any position in the country, and he has yet to showcase that because he's been banged up. But I think it'll be an interesting one. I think that South Florida definitely is a live dog with the points. Not so sure they can win it outright, but you never know. That's why they play the game. Jovan, you missed this one. Miami, South Florida.
Yeah, I'm on to you. This Miami team, they're looking like the old you. From up to 20 years ago. From the 80s to 2003, 2004ish. That's what this team is looking like. When they have the talent, You know, when you have talent like this, you know, that's showing high level production, you don't need the coach to, what you just need is the coach to stay out the way. And that's what Coach Cristobal is doing, really. You know, that's just the fact of the matter. You know, South Florida, they're a good team, you know, but I think, you know, when all's said and done, really, I think that Miami gets to them early. It just keeps, you know, the pedal to the metal. That's just what I think is going to happen in this one. You know, so South Florida, like I said, if it was most teams, you know, that were on Miami's level, then I might take a harder look at South Florida. But given the fact that, you know, looks like Miami's not taking any prisoners, I could only back them. I can't get in their way.
Who hasn't gone? Brian, did you go on this one? You went
Yep.
first, right?
Yep. Yes,
All
sir.
right. Chris, you went?
No, I haven't. I'm taking Miami in this one. I think it's just going to be similar to what we saw against Alabama, where it wouldn't surprise me if USF kept it close for a little bit early on, but I think over the course of the game, Miami just pulls away. I think they win this one 38-17. I'm taking Miami. I'm laying the big number.
Jake, you said it already, right? You went.
Yeah, you went.
All right. Floyd of Rosedale, Minnesota, Iowa last year. Fair catch? No fair catch. This is the signal for fair catch. This is the signal for no fair catch. Brian?
Man.
35 total on this.
Well, just if I'm going first, you know, the total makes me really want to take the under just because it's 35 and that's a super low. So just to lean to the
But
total,
I always hit like 10 of these in a row.
and that's always dangerous. But you know, the last 3 times these two teams have played, the score has been 2-point win, 3-point win, 3-point win. So if I'm getting
because they took away the touchdown last year on the fair catch.
I don't remember anything. But the older I get, the more senile I get. I forget all about that. But I like getting the points here with the home team. I'm going to take the Golden Gophers here.
Still have a nightmare.
David?
I don't know what it is about Iowa football. I think it's the ugliness that attracts me. But I just love Iowa. I can't get enough of Iowa for whatever reason. There it is. That's theirs today. That is their trophy today. But, you know, Iowa, I think offensively they're slightly better this year. They're running the ball pretty well. Cade McNamara at quarterback is kind of hit or miss. The defense has been okay. I don't fully trust Minnesota, to be honest. The last 2 games against Nevada and Rhode Island, obviously easy wins. They lost that one to North Carolina. They barely missed that field goal at the end. But I just think Iowa's the better overall team, and I'll take Iowa here to cover the small spread.
Jovan?
Yeah, I just can't envision a scenario where Iowa loses back-to-back games. You know, it's really that simple to me. You know, they lost to Iowa State, their rivals, you know, and now they're, you know, on the road, you know, facing a Minnesota team, you know, who has looked well this season. That said, defense travels, and year in and year out, they come with a hellified defense, you know. So I'm gonna trust Iowa to get it done. I'll take the spread away, you know, out of the equation and just take them on the money line, you know. So that's where I'm at with it.
I'm gonna take Minnesota plus the points. I just think this game is probably closer than 2.5, man. I just think this is like 17-15 either way, you know. You get into these ugly kinds of things. It could be 5 field goals, you know, for one team. You just don't know. I'd take the 2.5 with Minnesota, and this is gonna be a real slop fest. I mean, this is how these teams play. This is not like for the fantasy football player, you know. If you're a fantasy football player, you just click right through it. This is why they put it on at night against some of these other games. Chris, normally it's a day game.
I'm going to side with the over here, over 35. I know, you know, there's not a lot of love for Cade McNamara, but I still think he is probably one of the better quarterbacks that Iowa's had over the last few years. And you can at least give him some semblance of a passing game here, but so can Max Brosmer from Minnesota. A 21-17 game isn't high scoring, but it still gets us up and over this total. So I'm going to take the over 35, Minnesota, Iowa.
Jay, little pig at stake here.
The little pig game, man. Let's just rewind to last year. It was on top play that day. I had man, they punted that football off. Pointing at everybody, get that block right there. Get that block. Get that block. Got that block. To the end zone. Touchdown, Iowa. We turned for the lead. Flag.
Fair catch, man.
Fair catch? Where?
Fair catch. Fair catch.
This is not fair catch.
No fair catch.
Jay's had this one circled since last year. He's been ready.
You know it, David. You know it. You know this game has been circled. And I think it's been circled for Iowa as well. This is the revenge game of revenge games. Hey, they getting the little pig back in blood today. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. I'm with Chris. I think their offense is better this season. I think McNamara is probably one of the best quarterbacks that they've had. They did lose last week. It happens in those rivalry style games, in-state rivalry. But this one, I think it's been circled, and I think they go and get it. Minnesota is a good team. It's going to be a good game. But I'm leaning on the revenge. I'm leaning on that Iowa's offense is better this year. Their defense has probably took a slight step back, but I think they go and get it done, man. Really revenge on my mind. And a little pig coming back to Iowa.
All right. We go to our next game. How do you guys like this format? I kind of like it a little better. You got about 5 more games left to go. Oklahoma taking on Tennessee. This is the prime timer. This is the big one. SEC battle. It's weird, right? Because normally this would be like a bowl game. You'd see something like this, but it's week 4 SEC action. David, it's all you. Total 57.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch this one and see how it plays out. Is Tennessee for real, or is Oklahoma a little better than people are giving them credit for? I'm going to side with Tennessee. I hate it, but I'm going to side with Tennessee. I don't know. The line to me seems a little light, but I'm going to take Tennessee to win by a touchdown. They've looked fantastic in their 3 games. Haven't played anyone. They won 71-0 last week against Kent State. Took it to a bad NC State team. Oklahoma had some issues at home against Houston. Won by 15 against Tulane. They covered, I believe, that spread. But I'm going to take a shot here at Tennessee. I like the offense. I think the offense is going to roll all season long. I'm not going to even try to pronounce the quarterback's last name, but Nico's having a great start to the year. I think they win by at least a touchdown here. But I hate it because I don't love the line. To me, the line is light. But I'm gonna stick with it. I'll take the Volunteers.
Javon.
I don't know about the line being light, man.
I was going to say the same thing.
This
What?
is not. No. It's just because this is Oklahoma, so
This is Oklahoma.
You're not gonna find Oklahoma being an underdog in many games, especially not a full touchdown. So this is really an outlier. Now, as far as if you're doing your own numbers or whatever, then and you see this being a light number, then yeah, that's one thing. But I would say the odds makers are kind of pushing it because it's gonna lend to a lot of bettors back in Oklahoma. That said, I have trouble with the total in this one, but I'm a lean towards the over. In order for Oklahoma to stay competitive in this one, they're gonna have to play some defense. Can they do it against the Volunteers and the way they've looked? I'm not too sure. On the other hand, Tennessee's defense really hasn't been tested like that. And even though it seems like it's gonna be a down season as far as Oklahoma's offense and their passing attack, given the fact that they lost all of their starters on the offensive line, I think that Oklahoma could put up some sort of points to push this over the total. So 57. You would usually see this one, somewhere in the 60s. But given that it's 57, I'll bite. I'll take the over.
Yeah, for me, it's like all week long I was on Oklahoma plus the points. I really, really liked it, and it's just, I don't know, man. It just looks super public doggy to me at this point. And I know Oklahoma has a great home winning streak. I mean, the bad call was invented in Oklahoma. I mean, they get miserable calls at home. I mean, you're going to see some holding penalties tonight that are you're just not even going to. I mean, there won't even they'll call it on a guy who's on the bench or something. I mean, that's how bad the calls are in Oklahoma. But with an SEC officiating crew in an SEC contest, I could see this being actually instead, man, even though I've said Oklahoma. Now that we're on Saturday, I'm kind of like, I could see Tennessee just woodshedding them. And it's kind of like just go away, man. I think we said that for a long time about Oklahoma. These guys just need to just go away because they can't compete against the big boys. I'm going to go Tennessee. I'm going to parlay it up. Same game with the over. I think Tennessee a lot to a little in this one. Chris?
Yeah, I've been on Tennessee all week. I'm not wavering. I like this Tennessee offense. I like this Tennessee defense to be able to get to Jackson Arnold. And, while you can beat up on Temple, that's all well and good. But I think I really saw, something against Houston where Oklahoma really struggled to move the ball. Moving it on third down is still an issue for Oklahoma. I think this Tennessee defense is legit, but we've seen Tennessee's offense just, at full board, just absolutely take it to NC State. And I think it's a game where Tennessee, they're just not going to let up. I like Tennessee to win this one in a statement.
NC State is ass. Short, sweet, simple. NC State is terrible. So I'm not taking anything from that NC State-Tennessee football game. I'm taking the points here with Oklahoma, and I'm taking Oklahoma straight up on the money line. This is SEC football, first one for Oklahoma. And if y'all think they finna get ran out the building in their first SEC competition against a middle-of-the-pack SEC team like Tennessee, you're crazy. That's how I see it. Is Tennessee a good football team? Yes. Will they win this football game? They have they're favored to do so, but I don't know, man. I think Tennessee is getting too much love. I love what Oklahoma did last weekend. They shocked me last weekend on how they handled a good Tulane football team. What we have in this game is a team that has been tested against quality opponents, 3 quality opponents, versus a team who has played the likes of nobody to start the season. And we're laying points with that team on the road in the SEC first game for Oklahoma. Like, this game is the world for Oklahoma. And I feel like Oklahoma is the team, like, when they play the middle of
I guess someone
I was
had
just
enough
about to
of
ask.
that.
I was just about to ask who those quality opponents were.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Oklahoma's played a more quality schedule than Tennessee has. As far
UTEP's
I
a
would
bitch,
dispute
man.
that.
UTEP's a bear.
Chattanooga and Temple.
Chattanooga and UTEP are a bear.
Chattanooga and Temple are like this. Houston and Kent State. Tulane and NC State.
Well, I'll go into this. For me, the Oklahoma looks like a bait line at +7. It looks like a lot of points to take the Sooners. Does look public doggy, but on the other hand, I think Tennessee, other than Texas, is a really super hyped team. Everybody seems to be jumping on the Tennessee Vols bandwagon. Statistically, offense and defense, they're much better than Oklahoma as far as the numbers they put up this year. But for me, at home, I think I'm going to take Oklahoma plus the points. I think it's going to be I agree with some of what Jay said. I think it'll be closer than people expect.
We hope Jay's back for this one. Jovan, Colorado, Baylor.
Yeah, this is a game I'm just not touching. Colorado, they did show something last week against Colorado State.
Colorado State's ass. I mean, they got beat by 135 against Texas.
That's definitely not what I'm saying. They are. And they're facing a team in Baylor that, they've had a tough go of it, but they're a talented team. Then they got a good coach. So it's just one of those things where, Colorado still runs into the same problems that they have last year and earlier this season. The offensive line has a lot to be desired. They're going to get Shedeur Sanders killed against better competition. And, they're not running the ball. They can't run the ball. So those are two things that, unless they right the ship in those areas, they're going to get killed against, these middle of the road or upper echelon Big 12 teams. That said, I don't want to roll Baylor neither. So it's really a 50-50 game as far as I'm concerned. And -1 I think is probably the right line. I don't see any problem with it. If I had to choose anything in this game, I would choose the under. And that's just because Baylor, I think that they can on the defensive end, I think they could slow down what Colorado brings to the table. And on the other hand, I'm just not impressed with what I've seen from the Bears offense. So give me the under.
I'm going to take Baylor. I'm going to lay the extended up to 3 touchdowns, probably more in this one if someone is willing to give it to me. Big time conference, power conference football is won at the line, offensive and defensive line, and Colorado has 0 on either side of it. I expect to see the Baylor pass rush to look probably like the 78 Pittsburgh Steelers against this offensive line. I expect to see the running game to look like, well, the 78 Pittsburgh Steelers with 2 guys who rushed for over 1,000 yards against them. Colorado has never won a conference game under Deion Sanders, and I think that trend continues today, man. Why do you hate Coach Prime? Why has he never won a conference game, man? This guy is not a good coach. Make no mistake about it, man. He's not good at building a team, and he's certainly not good at coaching a team. And he's also not good at handling his players and and teaching them to be better players and better people. I'm going to take Baylor, and I think they absolutely woodshed him in this one at Boulder. He's going to look like select the seat day in the third quarter. Chris.
Yeah, short and sweet from me. I like Baylor just because I'm concerned about Colorado being unable to run the football, like Jovan mentioned. Don't get me wrong, Colorado can air it out. They have great receiving core, decent defense, but I think that Baylor making the move to Sawyer Robertson gives them more stability at quarterback. DeQuan Finn is a great quarterback, but just not a power level quarterback, in my opinion. So I think Baylor. I think Dave Aranda's defense holds up here. I think Baylor gets the win, so I'm taking Baylor on the point.
Must win for Colorado, and I think they pull it out. I think Deion gets his first conference win. I think this Baylor team, much improved from what they were a season ago. They were terrible a season ago, and this year they have improved. But I still have question marks about them. They did take Tarleton behind the woodshed, but not the same quality opponent. Lost on the road to Utah. They fought, and they beat up on Air Force. But how good is Air Force is really the main.
They covered in that game against Utah at Utah.
That's what I gave them credit for. I said they fought. That's what I said. Finn is solid. It's serviceable. I think
he's not playing.
Oh my goodness, can I talk, my guy? God, please. I feel like he's serviceable, but now that he's out here in this game, I think that that's really going to hurt Baylor. I'm taking Colorado at home at the crib. This has got to be one of their 6 wins. This has to be one of them. And I think they get it done. So that's where I'm at in this one. I'm expecting Shedeur and Travis, the best 2 players on the field, to have a nice day.
Shedeur Sanders' ass. He's terrible, man. Brian?
Yeah, it probably should have been a premium play. I probably should have Baylor because I think this line's probably a gift here because Colorado just hasn't gotten it done. Normally, I'm ready to jump onto Colorado after seeing how bad they've played this season, but I just don't think Sanders is the coach. I'm going to take Baylor on the money line here. I'd be surprised if Colorado gets it done tonight.
Dude.
I think we're going to see some points here. I like the over sitting here at 51.5. I know Colorado's got some offensive line issues to say the least, but I do think they'll be able to sling it around in the kind of playground style quarterbacking that Shedeur does. I think they can get on the board. And on the other side, I think, Colorado's defense, while they did look good against a bad Colorado State team and they did hang in there against Nebraska, I think, they're still not a good unit. So I think both teams put up points, and 51.5 really, to me, not a big number here, considering Colorado's involved. So I'll take the over.
Wasn't it 28-0 at halftime against Nebraska or something? I don't know if that's hanging in there.
Well, when you look at like they didn't get crushed like they had last year, is what I'm saying. Is the defense wasn't as bad as it was last year against, a good team, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. It's a different game, I guess.
Hey, let me say this real quick about Shedeur Sanders.
Terrible.
Shedeur Sanders, you give him time, he's gonna shred you.
But he doesn't have like that.
There's no point. There's no point.
No. There's a point. But here's the problem with him. It's not his arm, and it's not his athleticism. It's his knowledge. It's his football knowledge on the field. There's more to the quarterback position than athleticism and being able to throw a football.
Yeah, but
this guy under pressure runs backwards, man.
No,
and
listen,
he takes a 5-yard sack and turns it into a 20-yard sack
every
single time.
I get it, but it's a jailbreak. Let's just be honest. It's a jailbreak. It's not just pressure.
Well, that's his daddy's fault.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is. But you give him time, he's gonna shred you. It's really that simple. And mark my words, next year he'll be the number 1 pick for the New York Giants. And
it'll be as good as their Dave Brown when they took him with a first-round pick, man.
Well, it's better
Daniel
than
Jones with a first-round pick,
now.
man. He's in that category.
I don't know.
You think he's going to have a better time against an NFL pass rush than he has against Colorado State?
Well,
you can't have it both ways. Either doesn't have an offensive line. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Either doesn't have an offensive line now, or
so you think the team that drafts first in the NFL draft is going to have a good offensive line?
It depends on who it is.
One, I don't think he's going that high. I think he's probably Dion.
No, I'm not saying the overall number 1. I'm saying he's going to be a first round pick.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a first round pick, probably like 10, 11 somewhere. Dion already came out and said they're going to play the pick.
I hope the Cowboys take him.
They're going to pull the Eli Manning.
I hope the Cowboys take him.
Nah, we just signed Dak.
Oh, listen, if the Cowboys get him,
we just signed Dak. Yeah, they can't get him because
that doesn't stop anybody.
But if he's with a serviceable
he's
team,
going to like Tennessee.
The Falcons just took Michael Penix when they had signed Kirk Cousins. So
yeah, I mean it doesn't mean anything these days.
Yeah, but my whole point is this. Shedeur Sanders, if you just look at it, forget about all the the flamboyant stuff that he does, the iced out, bust down rollie and all that stuff. Look at the skill set, he has it. He throws the ball with anticipation, and that's what I look for in a quarterback. Half these bums in the NFL can't do that, So I like him as a player. So.
That'd be Mitch's worst nightmare, and I
could care less, man. I'm not an NFL fan, so I'm not. I could care less about who the Dolphins are. They don't get.
I'm sending you a Shedeur Miami Dolphins jersey. I'm sending it to you.
Do not bet list. Shedeur Sanders for Heisman. # we coming.
Oh man, that'd be perfect, bro. I'm praying for that. Shedeur to Miami. Oh my god.
USC football, that one will be put to the test today. A lot of you guys took USC on the panel from our do not bet list. This is like Brian Bitler's greatest hits. The Kings on the road all day is a favorite. Love the Kings. All right. We go to Corvallis where Oregon State and Purdue face each other. Normally, teams off of a blowout is a pretty good spot, but the problem here is we got 2 teams coming off of blowouts, and they both got crushed last week. Oregon State was at home against Oregon. They actually fought the good fight for the first half. The game was tight in the first half. It was a 3-point game, I believe, at halftime. But Purdue was down 49-0 at halftime at home against Notre Dame. got pretty ugly there. Who's up now? Who went first for that Colorado? Gosh, that mess.
I think Jovan went first.
All right, so it's me. Yeah, well, here's the issue I have with the Purdue run defense is that, well, they stink. And they're the worst run defense, 128th in the nation against the run. And then you look at the Oregon State running offense, and they're like 4th in the nation. So what you have there is a team that's just going to ground and ground and ground and pound. The line is dropping like crazy in this game, but I don't care, man. I think there's a few games out there where the Sharps just maybe got their number, and now the public is kind of humping on board, man, and they're on the wrong side of it. I'm gonna take Oregon State. Chris?
Yeah, I feel like these are like, that Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other because they both, just got crushed. And yeah, it's not good. I'm taking the under here. I know Reeser can be a tough place to go on the road and play, but this is still a new look Oregon State team. I haven't liked what I've seen from Purdue. So I'm going under in this.
Well, you think it's addition by subtraction because DJU no longer at Oregon State?
Yeah, well,
Jay has got to love that. It's got to be the addition.
Yeah,
by subtraction.
It's addition by subtraction. I don't know because DJU, if he was still at Oregon State, this might be the first time in history where a team could score negative points. But yeah, I'll take the under 50 here.
Nothing for me in this game. Just a straight up Ruffalo. Too much action on the board for me today. This one I didn't even study this game at all.
Right.
See, you took away I was going to take a Ruffalo, but
Go ahead.
I'll lean towards the under here. Both teams gave up a combined 115 yards. I got to think that both defenses are going to come out a little bit stronger than they did last week in both contests. I think the running game will be strong for Oregon State. I think that'll grind some clock. I'll take the under.
David?
I also think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but I'll back Oregon State at home. Low number. I don't love the game. Obviously, both teams coming off of a blowout. I just that beatdown that Purdue got from Notre Dame was just crazy, and I think it's going to be tough to bounce back from that in a tough environment. And, if this was at Purdue, I think it's a different story. But Chris is right. It's not easy to go into Corvallis. It's easier nowadays, kind of sort of with the way Oregon State is conferenceless, but I'm going to still back Oregon State here at home.
Who's a better pro, Bronny James or Shedeur Sanders?
Sanders by a mile.
I'd say Bronny.
Shedeur Sanders.
No way.
Bronny. Bronny at least has the high ceiling.
How does he have a high ceiling?
Stop it. One is gonna be like, I'm not even arguing.
Giannis's brother or Shedeur Sanders?
Yeah, this is brother.
All right, I got one for you. Jerry Jeudy or Shedeur Sanders?
Jerry Jeudy.
Jerry Jeudy. You want to know the Spider-Man meme is Shedeur Sanders and Jamarcus Russell.
It's our last game on the card. BYU +7 at home against it's Kansas State, not Kansas.
Hold on. I didn't give my
Perfect.
Oregon State.
All right, gives me my chance to fix it.
Yeah, just real quick. It's gonna be quick. Any team that has Hudson Card under center, I'm fading. So that's it. I'm on Oregon State at home.
All right, Chris, BYU, Kansas State.
Yeah, this line now sitting at 7. I'm going to take Kansas State. I mean, I liked them even earlier in the week when it was around 7.5, but I just think that Kansas State is just. I think they're the better team with better quarterback play here, and I trust their defense a lot more. I know Retzlaff has looked good for BYU, and going into Provo, not an easy thing to do, especially and win, let alone lay 7 points. But I just feel that Kansas State, I think, is the better team here, so I'm going to go with the Wildcats in this one.
Jay.
Avery Johnson for Heisman, my Big 12 champs. Kansas State, man, they finna go ahead and beat up on BYU and the Mormons. That's how I see it, bro. I still think Kansas State is slightly underrated, man. I do. I do. I think everybody in love with them boys in Stillwater, everybody in love with them boys in Utah. And my Kansas State boys slowly but surely sliding under the radar. When I look at BYU's games this season, Wyoming, they're ass. I think we all can agree on that. Wyoming's ass. SMU, here's a team I was completely wrong about. That team right there, they're ass. I think Jovan tried to tell me that at the beginning of the season. Jovan, you were right. I'm just going to tell you. SMU, they're ass. And the Salukis is who they beat. So BYU not really tested, in my opinion. I think Kansas State, they got that two-headed monster in that backfield with Giddens and Edwards, and Avery can also run the football. The one thing I am concerned about, a big edge that Kansas State has in a lot of their games, is they're usually bigger in the trenches than both teams. I think BYU kind of big in them trenches too. But I still think Kansas State, the deeper team, as I always say, second half, Kansas State is a second half football team. I think second half is where they really will wear down BYU, get downhill, and kind of just start running the ball down their throats. We're only laying, it's actually, do your line shop, and you can get this under the touchdown, laying the 6.5. So lay the 6.5 with K-State. They should win this game by like 10 plus as far as I'm concerned.
Brian?
Yeah, well, I haven't been able to read the Miami Hurricanes correctly. I have been able to read the Kansas State correctly. I had Tulane in the other week, and last week I had K-State bouncing back against Arizona. This one, I think BYU at home getting the points is where I want to be at. BYU 5 straight covers. I just think it's closer than people. So this is a classic late night game where people are jumping, betting Kansas State late to try and make up for some money or double their money. I think BYU gets it done. Close game.
David?
Yeah, I'm interested to see how BYU handles, or Kansas State handles the environment. BYU is not an easy place to play. I think Kansas State is the better team, and we just saw them take it to Arizona. They did have some trouble with Tulane on the road, so I'm curious if they have a better road sense of play in this one. I mean, they did win that game, but they were fortunate to win that game against Tulane, and this is going to be a tougher environment. I'm going to take Kansas State because I do think they're the better team, but I think that home field edge is real for BYU. Should be a good game, fun one to fall asleep to, but I'll take K-State.
Jovan?
Yeah, I think the over's in play at this low total. The thing about BYU is they love to sling that ball, around a lot. So, and I think that one of the weaknesses that K-State tends to have is, in their secondary. You can pass against them. So, the fact of the matter is if they're marching the ball down the field through the air, this could be a bit of a shootout. So I like the over in this one, quite frankly.
I like BYU in this one. I think you could sprinkle money line. I think they're the bigger, more physical team, and I think that they're going to wear Kansas State down. I think Avery Johnson, certainly a great athlete, but in the altitude, just a different atmosphere for a guy like this, because they run the football really well, and he can't throw the ball, but I think throwing the ball in altitude is just a different thing, and I don't think this guy has it, to be honest with you. I think that he's going to really struggle, and I think in the second half, Kansas State's just going to look absolutely gassed and get run over by guys who have been leaning on him for 4 quarters of football. I'm going to take BYU. I'm going to take the money line. Chris?
I'm first in this one.
All right. Next up, we're each just going to give one Major League Baseball pick. If you want to, say what you're selling, and let's get the hell out of here. Chris, you're up first.
All right, let's go.
Messed that up.
Wow. It's like it wasn't that bad, huh? Okay, I'm gonna take the Detroit Tigers here. I just think that I think they can get the Cade Povich. Reese Olson hasn't been spectacular since it's coming back from the IL, but I'm still getting plus money with the Tigers. The Orioles still having trouble against righties, so I'll take a shot on the Tigers and plus money. For me today, I got my $15 pick-off play for the MLB. I got a 3-pack in MLB. Also got my platinum play for college football and a bunch of 3-packs. So best value is to hop on a 3-day or 7-day pass, actually less than buying each of Saturday's daily packages individually.
There you go. Money making Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. First, let's talk about baseball. Y'all know where I'm at. Yesterday on the show, I leaned towards the Yankees, first game of the series. We know what's up with them. We know what they do in that spot. They come in, they beat up teams. I want to say they're like 10-0 in their last 10 first game of the series. Ooh, yeah, the Yankees. That's how they come. Every time they go into a new city, they just like flex their muscles, show the city that they're in, that they're the Yankees. But today, y'all know who on that mound. Y'all know who on that mound. And his name is JP Sears, and he's going to get a dub today at home against the Yankees. So I'm taking the plus money with the Oakland Athletics and baseball today. It's really probably the only thing I like today in Major League Baseball. But what I do really like today is what I got going on in college football. I told y'all last week was probably my worst weekend as a professional betting football. Went 0-2 on Saturday and 0-5 on Sunday for an 0-7 football weekend. It was terrible, my worst one. Since then, though, we hit on Monday, we hit on Thursday, and we hit our college football play last night. So we've hit 3 in a row in football combined. I got 7 plays total for y'all today in football. You can scoop them up, hop on something long-term, get all of them. You can scoop up the 3-pack, or you can hop on my top play. I absolutely love my top play today. We're betting it heavy. It's an 11 o'clock game, so you got to get in on it now before the time's up. So hop on that. That's what I got going on with y'all today. Money making Saturday. Brian?
Yeah, for me, as far as Major League Baseball goes, I'd probably take a fly with the New York Mets. Haven't liked what I've seen from the Phillies lately. You got Manaea on the mound, 2.38 ERA, and over his last 5 starts, averaging around 7 innings per start. So for me, I'm going to lean towards the New York Mets on the money line. As far as what I got for sale today, it was a brutal summer for me, but I'm finally starting to heat up. 2 3-0 sweeps in a row. College football started 16-7 on the year, 70%. You get my best bet, my titanium wager, over at pickdogs.com. Just $25 gets you that best bet winner. If you want all 3 of my college football best bets, it's in my private play 3-pack, $50 at pickdogs.com.
Yeah, in baseball today, I'm looking at the Twins over the Red Sox. They're sitting right now about minus 150. So I think the run line plus 120 is the play. Red Sox are they're dying slowly here. They're brutal. They're falling off. Last night, 1 for 19 with runners in scoring position. They're going up against Pablo Lopez today. If you haven't followed Pablo Lopez this season, take a look at his last 3 months. He's been fantastic. The Twins are winning when he's on the mound. And no Devers for the Red Sox. So I like Minnesota minus the 1.5. And then I have a little bit of baseball, a little bit of football today, packaged up a few different ways over at pickdogs.com. Check it out. Or like Chris said, sign up for something long-term. That's going to be more value than looking at every single package for the day. So head on over there and let's have a good day.
Yeah, so we're gonna look at this White Sox Padres game, and even though Chris Flexen has won his last 2, well, the White Sox have won his last 2 games. Get back on the losing train. Extend no clip with the San Diego Padres. Got Martin Perez on the mound. I just expect the Padres to get to Flexen early and often, and just start at -3. You want to do 2.5, do 2.5. But yeah, -3. Send no clip time for that one. What I got for football, per usual, got a 5-pack at the noontime slot, 5-pack in the 3:30 time slot, and a 5-pack in the prime time portion of the night. Got 16 plays in all per usual. Looking to go somewhere similar to the 11-5 that I went last weekend, or last Saturday. So jump on board with something long term. The whole weekend was good for me last weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So jump on something long term. Let's get this money.
Like a couple of baseball games, I was still narrowing it down here to the last second. It wouldn't be a complete baseball Saturday if I didn't take the Giants, and I'm going to jump on them again here. Been fading the Royals all season, all series long. I had the Giants last night as a premium play. For some reason, I left them off today. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. The Royals just in an absolute tailspin, which has been kind of gone under the radar because the Twins have been playing so bad. But don't count the Royals out. They've been a real shit show themselves, man. They've been stinking it up. And I'll tell you what, last night at big prices too. So I like the Giants. Rob's been pitching well. My other pick that I was going to give out was the Rockies because Walker Buehler is a shell of himself. I like these guys that are shelled themselves. Walker Buehler is always like a strikeout per inning type guy. Now he's like a strikeout every 3 inning per guy. So when the guys lose that, usually they lose a lot. But my play here for the show is the Giants. I got a $15 Major League Baseball play. I lost mine last night, man. It was a heartbreaker with Barrios and the Blue Jays. Man, he gave up 1 home run, and that was enough, man. If you score 0 runs, you're not going to beat anybody. So I'm not going to pin it on him. But I've got my $15 MLB play, but I have 2 MLB plays. I have another one that's for the longer term people. If you have a long-term package of mine, I've got no early college football at all. I only have afternoon and late games. I have 2 3-packs, and then I have my college football score. So far, my college football top play is 3-0 this season. Last week, it was Notre Dame over Purdue. Even the week that I had the lousy week of college football, easy cover with Nebraska over Colorado as my top play. So all 3 of my top plays this season have hit, and looking to make it 4 in a row today.
There you go. Parlay time?
Sure.
All right, fellas. Parlay. Franchise player.
Yeah, let me do. Okay, I'm going to take Tennessee. I'm going to take over in Ohio State Marshall. And Louisiana.
Who they play? They finna get they losing today.
Tulane.
Oh yeah. Give me Tulane, Arkansas, and TCU, and Cal. Money line, 14.
Tulane's getting their teeth kicked in today.
What makes you say that, bro? They just
they're coming off of 2 emotional games. They
against
lost
2 really
exactly, and that's exhausting losing those games the way that they did. And now they got to take on Louisiana. Louisiana team's been efficient. Yeah,
I think they're off a bye week too, Louisiana.
Yeah,
I think they're on a bye week.
Green Wave, let's do it.
As far as my parlay goes, I'll take Miami, Ohio plus the points, the Sooners plus the points, and Southern Florida plus the points.
Yeah, I hate my Green Wave.
I'm going to take Oklahoma State on the money line, Virginia minus 3.5, and Texas Tech minus 3.5.
And I'll take the Arkansas Razorbacks plus the points. K-State, BYU over. And Utah, Okie State. The Cowboys over. That's a 3-teamer.
Me?
Yes, sir.
I like Liberty. I like UTEP plus the points against Colorado State. And I like Florida Atlantic on the money line against UConn.
Liberty.
Colorado State's ass. They get slaughtered.
Just because they lost to Colorado?
Well, they also lost to Texas 68-0 too. So it's not like they've been a pillar of strength this season.
That's fair. Good point.
It's terrible. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. Make it a winning day. We appreciate each and every one of you. Tomorrow, it's Jay's Day, NFL Sunday, week 3. And in case you were wondering, Jay likes the Cowboys tomorrow against the Ravens. We'll give away for you. It just killed all the suspense. Thanks everyone for joining us. Make it a winning day. We appreciate each and every one of you. South Florida ain't our rival. Make it a winning day. South Florida's our rival. That's like when, who was it? Someone tried to bring, who was it they brought? Oh, it was UConn. When they brought the trophy to, they tried to make South Florida their rival. And they like created a trophy for the game and everything. And then the coach, like they brought the trophy and like South Florida won the game or whatever. And they gave them the trophy and he threw it in the garbage. He's like, these guys aren't our rival. Central Florida's our rival. It's like he said that thing. He's like, they're not our rival. Central Florida's. That was the Dave Diaco that they have to try 10% harder than everybody else. The red zone starts at the 22. Thanks everyone. Make it a winner. I love one of my favorite bits of all time.